Hey y'all, welcome back to another special edition of Hopped Up Beer Review. It is our 2023 Brewers Advent Calendar. Today, we are trying Bamberger Rauchbier out of the Klosterbräu Bamberg out of Bamberg, Deutschland. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hopped Up Beer Review, the show where we give you our unprofessional and somewhat biased opinion about the beer we are drinking and reviewing. We are back for yet another beer out of our 2023 Brewers Advent Calendar. Excited to have another German beer. Andy's got the attic all decorated and festive. I've got a tree over here. There's Jay. I've
got a tree.
Andy in the attic. What are we drinking today, Joe? Sorry, I didn't start that thought by trying to call you out, Jay. I really didn't, honestly.
It's all right. Yeah, I get it.
He's got storage.
What are we drinking, Andy?
Smoke beer.
Bamberger Rauchbier. Rauchbier. It is this.
Bamberger Rauchbier.
Rauchbier. It is a mouthful to pronounce. Hopefully it's more pleasant to drink than it is to pronounce. From the Klosterbräu Bamberg out of Bamberg.
I'm excited for this one. It's a
Yeah,
new
I am
one.
too.
We didn't have this one.
We haven't had this
And
style.
it is all over the place.
Oh, it is excited to be on the show. Let me get my towel.
Mine came out just fine. Mine's good. Just say why. Ooh, man.
It's a smoke beer.
Yeah. So the word Rauchbier, it means smoke beer.
Mm.
It
It's
smells
like beef jerky.
Just, it's got that campfire smell, huh?
Mm.
This
Yes,
is gonna be a good one.
I started looking at this one, researching it. I am so excited. Y'all know me. I like the smoke.
This reminds me of something, and I'll explain in a minute. But that's good.
We might have to wait just a minute or two.
So
Go ahead and explain
we can wait it. Yeah. So I have been super excited about this one as well. I mean, the can art I absolutely love. And just a smoke beer we didn't get in our 2022 Advent calendar. So super excited.
The can looks better than the picture that you pulled off the web.
He's going to replace that.
Yeah, I pulled that picture.
Are.
I couldn't find a good picture of the can. I'm probably going to take a picture of the can myself and actually upload this one because I like the can art so much on this one. This would be one that I would, if I saw in a store, I would definitely buy based on the can art alone. So if you're watching this video, it's likely you don't see the image that we have there and you have the actual can art.
Let's get going.
All right.
I can drink through some of the foam in the head.
Cheers, mates. Very interesting.
Fun. We're drinking. So this is 5.3%, 30 IBUs. The Rauchbier, smoke beer. How in the world do we get this flavor? So the smoke flavor comes from the malted barley that is dried over fires made from usually beechwood logs.
Beechwood aging, right?
I was about to say, if beechwood sounds familiar, Budweiser loves to talk about it like it makes their beer taste better. But if Budweiser tastes like this, I think I'd be drinking Budweiser more. So after it's dried over the beech, the fires from the beechwood log, it is filtered and then stored in oak vats. I think this
Adds more wood
originated,
flavor.
this style originated in Bamberg, because they had these catacombs under the city that were ideal for, because of their stable temperature and moisture levels. And there's a maze work of these catacombs underneath the city that they started in the 11th century. So when you think of a Rauchbier, it is, if people, I guess, in Germany or in the know, tend to associate that with Bamberg, because it kind of went out of style after a while, but Bamberg continues to produce these. I believe, Jay, at one of you sent us some pics of some of the beers that you sent.
Mhm.
And
One of the bottle shops.
Not sent,
Yeah.
the bottle shop, and those were from Bamberg.
Yeah, I was trying to look that up because there's a few that I've had from there. I was trying to look up the actual brand, but I couldn't pronounce it either if I could.
Yeah.
So, but yes, there's some of those German smoke beers. They come in nice bottle, about yay big. It has that Rauchbier old writing.
Yeah, because when I was looking up with all the different types of Rauchbier, they had multiple picks of different beers, and the ones that you had sent us, I was like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple of them before out of the bottle shop, just because of, honestly, the show and the way that we've expanded our horizons and trying new things that I never would have. But when I saw those, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And you read into it and it says smoke beer. So they all definitely have the flavor, that woodsy, outdoor, smoky flavor.
So this is 5.3%, 30 IBUs. The hops uses Hallertau Tradition and Hallertau Pearl. Now, before we talk about the brewery, take a big whiff of that. And what does it remind you of? My first impression was beef jerky.
Bacon. That's what it reminds me of.
Okay.
No, more I can see the beef jerky, but to me it still has that woodsy campfire, almost like sometimes a smoked old fashioned or things like that. When you put ice around a smoked piece of wood, any type of drink you would put there, or you let something age in an oak barrel that had been charred, an old bourbon barrel.
Well, they're the taste that the notes that they describe it on their website says, and I'm going to save the most obvious. Once I say it, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, licorice, which I'm having a hard time picking out licorice. Dark chocolate. It might lead to some of the bitter because of dark chocolate, and there's not a lot of bitter to this. Roasted caramel. And when I say this next one, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, smoked ham. And it's like, the beef jerky, that's like, well, essentially smoked. And you said bacon.
Bacon, yeah.
Smoked ham. Yeah. I mean, that, and when I read that, I smelled it and then I read it and I was like, good grief, that is a smoked ham.
Yeah.
Drink your ham.
Yeah. Wow.
But it does not taste like a ham. It just tastes like a smoky. It's almost like a smoky porter, almost.
I don't know. I get the cured meat flavor in my mouth, along with the taste as well. Yeah.
Well, the Klosterbräu Bamberg was it originated and started in 1533, as it says. The sake 1533 since 1533. It's the oldest brewery in Bamberg. This one is also a restaurant there. This beer would go great with some German fare. It was named the Klosterbräu. It was named after a Franciscan monastery that was nearby, the Kloster. We call them cloisters. So it was originally founded as Prince Bishop's Braun Beer House, which means dark beer house, Braun Beer House. And the house was first mentioned as a brewery in 1333. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's got some old roots back in then. You know, if you think these catacombs were built in the thousands, the 11th century. So this is an old region. And then it was owned, the brewery in the place was owned by the archbishops until 1790. So that's when it privatized. And then in 2017, it was acquired. It's still kind of technically independent. I don't know their rules over there. You know, in the US, you're considered a macro if 25% or more is owned by a macro brewery. I don't know what in Germany, but it's a subsidiary of this Privatbrauerei Kaiserdom. But they're still technically independent if they're in this Brewers Advent calendar. And I'm going to admire the can now.
All right. So
yeah, it's a cool can.
Taking that as the hint that we have gotten to the end of our knowledge about this beverage at this point.
I'm spent.
All right. Well, let's review this. I'll hop in and go first. I think, you know, we've done the Brewers Advent calendar now. We did it last year. We're now in our second year of doing it. We're probably about halfway through as we record this in a timeline fashion. We're about halfway through what we have to review for this. I think of the beers that I've had out of this calendar, this is probably the most interesting beer that we've had. I don't know if I'm going to say it's the best beer we've had, but I think it's definitely the most interesting beer we've had. And I'm also going to have story time now. So about
get my
story time
go
with
ahead, get
everybody
get your cutlery,
get settled in.
Story time. So I lived in New York City for about 6 years, and during that time period, I had a buddy that I'd worked with who, you know, he left the company we were working for, and I did as well. And he went to brew school. So he spent 6 weeks in Chicago, 6 weeks in Munich, and, you know, became a brewer. And Andy, I think you've actually met him as well.
Charlie,
yeah.
Charles.
Chuck, yeah. Chuck, my buddy Chuck. So what was really great when Chuck came back to New York and we were both hanging out after he had been to brew school, he kind of knew the kind of beer that I liked at that point in time. And we're talking probably, you know, 10, 11, 12 years ago. And so the great thing for me was we'd go to, you know, any, you know, bars that have a lot of beer in New York. And I would say, hey, just order me something I've never had that, you know, I like. And he was really good at that, you know. So we went to a bar called Jimmy's. It's downstairs. It's in the Lower East Side. It's right next door to Standings, which is another cool little sports bar where I wrote Hottie Toddy on the wall. Just FYI, under the oldest flag that they have there. Yeah, side note. You know, I'm not very good at stories. Go ahead if you didn't pick up on that.
They know where to find you they've been looking for this graffiti artist.
Exactly.
But Andy they're cool with this. I mean, it gives him an opportunity to drink beer.
A vandal.
Yeah, exactly. I'm rounding this up.
Enthralled.
Yes. So anyway, we went to Jimmy's. He ordered me a beer. The comment that I had about that beer was, I'm drinking bacon. And I've asked Chuck about this a few times over text. I said, hey, what was the bacon beer we had at Jimmy's? et cetera, et cetera. He always tells me, I always forget. When I popped the can on this one, I was like, this is at least the same style, right? It may not, I don't think it's the same beer, but this took me back immediately 10, 11, 12 years to he and I having, at least one or two in Jimmy's in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So I was super excited about this beer alone, just on the can art, because I think it's really cool. But I think this is one of the more interesting beers. Again, this box has a lot of Helles. As we said last year, half or more of the box is going to be Helles. But you get a handful of beers that are really interesting. This one to me is the most interesting beer I've had out of two of these, and I really like it. And I really liked it when I was drinking bacon back with Chuck at Jimmy's on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. For me, this beer's a 9. I love this beer. I love it. So, Chuck, I'm drinking bacon.
I
All right.
did not think you were going to go that high based on how you were talking about drinking
I
bacon.
love
You're
it.
like,
Yeah,
I'm drinking
no, that's
bacon.
great. That's
And
great.
you're like, it's a 9. I'm like, oh, okay.
See, I
right.
like to, you know me. I mean, you've been on enough of these shows, right? You've been on all of them. So, you know how I like to wind you up in a certain way and then go the other way.
I don't know everything about you. I didn't know you told us about your worst date, with Chuck, but it turned out to be a good date because you got to drink bacon. I was like,
Oh, it's the same day. Okay.
I'm learning so much about you now after all these years. I thought it was a bad date, but it turned out to be a good date. Bacon beer date.
So on my other review channel, or in a past life and future life,
Barbecue.
I also barbecue. So anytime I see something related to smoke beer, smoke drinks, I'm always intrigued. Always love the flavors, and I have had a few of those. I'll pull that back up and show it to Andy and Ben on the break. But there is a few of these in Rauchbiers, and actually they're Doppelbocks with oak smoke on them, that are very good. So we'll have to try and get that into the rotation of our regular review, and it'll probably be after the first of the year for sure. At this point, I mean, hell, we're deep into December, so
summer of next year by the time
right.
we get to it.
But given now that we know Ben's love of these things, I'm probably gonna have to ship him cases of them.
So good.
It's a very good beer to me. I am a little surprised the ABV is lower, but that oak flavor, the bacon, the pork, whatever you want to call it, the ham,
Smoked ham.
it's smoke flavor to me.
It's a pig.
It's some people might say, well, they just added liquid smoke to a beer. No, there was a process that got here.
Yeah.
It's very good. To me, I'm not going to go as high as you've been. It's a unique beer style to me, and I'm still having to get used to it. I can't say this is going to be that high, but it's an 8 for me. So I'm going to have more of these Rauch beers or Doppelbecks that are oak smoked or whatever they are. I've had maybe one or two from the bottle shop, and need to go back and familiarize myself with what all they have. So,
All right, Andy.
I don't know what the European Beer Star is, but they won gold in 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good winner. Well, we've had a few, just a couple like smoky beers on here, and for those faithful fan who has watched us knows that I appreciate smoke. I like the smoke in my drinks. I like it in the food. I like it in my scotch. I like those peaty I like it in mezcal, my smoky tequila style. And this is great. This is one of the smokiest beers I have ever had, and just I want more of it. And it's I like the dark beer flavor. Again, it reminds me of like a porter, but just a very smoky porter, and it's so good. I guess I picked up a little bit of that dark chocolate, but a mild bitter in there. Definitely roasty, but the smoked ham, I like ham. So it's just very fun. Like I said, Ben, you said it right. This is the most interesting of the Brewers Advent calendar we have ever had.
Mm-hmm.
We've had really good ones too. The ones that in like last year's that stand out is the Schwarze-Tinte, really good one, the stout. The double Bock, the Eisenbach, we had really good one. Yeah, there was another Helles I can't remember. Oh, it was the very last one. That one was a really good one too. Yeah, the purple with the eagle.
The eagle, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm ashamed. Sorry, Mary.
Starts with an L.
No, it starts with an S.
No, it starts with L.
Oh, Leidenberger. Thank you. Leidenberger. Yeah, that was it. That was really good. But yeah, this you know, it's memorable. You don't have to think of the can. This taste stays, and the smell and this taste stays with you. And I had, as soon as I started sipping it, I had my score in my head already. And so it's going to the Hall of Fame, 8.5 for me.
Boom.
Or Wall of Fame, I guess.
Yeah, and what you said there, you know, it's memorable. And again, I don't think I've had this particular beer before, but that, you know, smoked ham, smoked bacon, whatever. I've texted Chuck, I don't know how many times, you know, what is the name of that beer? And he'll think back, and I think he's given me the name of the beer, but he's probably more so giving me the style.
I was about to say the style is what you need to remember.
Probably what he's actually giving me. But
the more this warms up and I sip it, I can get that roasted caramel and the dark chocolate out of it. I'm glad I don't get licorice too. Yeah. So.
Yep. All right, cue the fireworks. That is going to be an 8.5 for the
Bamberger Rauchbier. Bamberger Rauchbier.
What?
Bamberger Rauchbier.
All right. Anything above an 8.5 collectively goes on the Hopped Up Beer Review Wall of Fame. And I believe this is the first beer from the Brewers Advent calendar, whether it be 2022 or 2023, that has made it to our Wall of Fame. So, hey, really great beer. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you've got that one in your Brewers Advent calendar, because it's a fun one. And as you know, we all said, it's definitely, I think, the most interesting beer that you can get out of the box, at least so far. You know, we've got a few more to go. Maybe we'll change that later on down the road, but definitely a great beer. Definitely, hopefully one that you have as well that you can enjoy. And let us know if you have it. Let us know what you think about it as well down in the comments. If you have made it this far in this season of giving, be sure to like, subscribe. Cheers, that notification bell.
Give us your likes.
Yeah, just go ahead and give it away. And check us out on all the social medias down below in the description. Come say hey in our Hopped Up Beer Review Discord server. And it's a chat room, and we chat about beer and other things. And we will definitely be chatting a lot about the 2023 Brewers Advent calendar in there in the month of December. So come check that out. Lastly, if you have any interest in any Hopped Up Beer Review merch, like the shirt or the things Jay is showing off there, we've got a link for that below in the description as well. So go get you a bunch of stuff for Christmas, because I'm sure your dad would love a Hopped Up Beer Review shirt.
Or glass.
Or glass, yeah. If you don't know the size, get a glass. For Andy in the attic and Jay, I'm Ben. I'm drinking bacon. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates. Drinking bacon.